I look out of the window at my quiet home, surrounded by books and old papers that hold memories of decades of hard work and achievement. My name is Eleanor Harding, and for 75 years, I have lived a life full of teaching, learning, and seeking knowledge. But now, at this stage in my life, what stands out the most is the silence of my home, the absence of the voices of my daughter, Rebecca, and my granddaughter, Sophia. The world outside continues to change, but inside, I remain trapped in memories, reflecting on the relationships that have shaped me. I often find myself thinking about my past, about the choices I made, especially when it came to my family. I always thought I was doing the right thing, but now, as time slips away from me, I wonder if I ever truly understood what they needed. You see, my life has always been defined by academia. I spent decades as a university professor, imparting knowledge to students who came and went, all while the years took their toll on my personal relationships. My husband, Edward, passed away many years ago, and since then, it's been just me and Rebecca. We never truly saw eye to eye. She never understood why I was so consumed with my work. To her, I was distant, cold even, focused on the world of books and lectures, while she needed a mother who was present, emotionally available. Looking back, I can see now how my devotion to my career might have made her feel neglected, but I was always doing what I thought was best. I wanted to provide stability for her, but I see now that she needed something I couldn't give, something I didn't know how to offer. As I sit here now, the weight of my years pressing down on me, I can't help but think of Rebecca. I always believed that if I worked hard enough, if I succeeded in the career I so loved, then I would have done my part for her. I thought that stability, that foundation would be enough. But the truth is, it wasn't. I can still remember the pain in her eyes when she confronted me years ago about how I had failed her as a mother. She felt abandoned. The long hours, the papers I graded, the classes I taught, it all seemed to her like they mattered more than her. To me, it was a way of showing her I cared. I wanted her to have everything, but I could never give her the emotional support she longed for. And that's a regret that follows me every day. There are days when I sit in my favorite chair, staring out into the garden, watching the seasons change, and I think about how little I really understood her. All these years of teaching students about emotional intelligence, about how to connect with others, and yet I couldn't connect with the people who meant the most to me. The books I'd read, the lectures I'd given, none of them prepared me for the complexities of relationships, of love. I built a life filled with intellectual accomplishments, but I couldn't seem to build the emotional bridges that would have brought me closer to Rebecca. And now I'm left here, in the quiet of my thoughts, wondering if I've lost her forever. I wish I could say that things got better with time, but the truth is, they didn't. As I grew older, I became more reflective, more aware of the distance that had grown between Rebecca and me. And then there's Sophia, my granddaughter. Sophia was always so young when I saw her, and now I hardly know her at all. I don't have the kind of relationship with her that I hoped for. What hurts the most is that I see so much of Edward in her. His wit, his kindness, his curiosity about the world. But I've kept my distance from her too. Not out of malice, but because I didn't know how to bridge the gap. Rebecca, still protective and cautious, has kept her close, and I can't help but wonder if she's trying to protect her from me, the way I failed to protect her from my own emotional coldness. It's a bitter pill to swallow, realizing that I've been so caught up in my own world of intellect and achievement that I've missed the chance to connect with the people who matter most. Strange, really. I taught so many students about the importance of relationships, how to understand and communicate with others, how to share love and kindness. Yet, in my own family, I was unable to put those lessons into practice. I was so wrapped up in my own ideas and ideals that I neglected the simplest human need, to be seen and heard, to feel loved. Now, I sit here, surrounded by the books that I have spent my life reading, knowing that they can't undo the mistakes I've made, can't make up for the years of silence between me and my daughter, between me and my granddaughter. As the years went by, I knew that time was running out for me. I was diagnosed with a chronic illness, something that would inevitably shorten my time on this earth. The doctors were blunt, and for once, I didn't try to hide from the truth. I was forced to face it head-on. My life had a limited span now, and there was nothing I could do to change that. It wasn't just my health that was deteriorating, but my relationship with Rebecca. My body was failing, and my heart was heavy with regret. I had spent so many years focusing on my career, on the pursuit of knowledge, that I had neglected the most important people in my life, the ones who needed my love and care. I had always thought that what I did for them, providing, securing their futures, giving them stability, was enough. But now I see it wasn't. As I sit here in the quiet of my home, my mind often drifts to the thought of Rebecca, to the strained conversations we had over the years. I wonder if she understands now how deeply I regret the emotional distance between us. I've tried to reach out to her to explain, but it's as if there's a wall that can't be broken down. She holds so much anger, so much hurt. She believes I abandoned her, and though I never intended that, I can't change her feelings. I can't undo the years of silence between us, the unspoken words that linger like ghosts in our conversations. One day, as I was sitting in my study, surrounded by the books that have been my solace for so long, a thought occurred to me. Perhaps I could still do something for Sophia, something that might help her, even if I couldn't be the grandmother she needed me to be. Maybe, just maybe, this could be my way of bridging the gap, of leaving something behind for her that might show her that I cared, that I loved her, even if I couldn't express it as openly as I wished I could. So I made a decision. I set up a trust fund for Sophia's education, a gift for her future. I know that it's not the same as having a close, loving relationship, but it's all I can give her now. I want her to succeed. I want her to have every opportunity one can provide. And even though we're not close now, maybe one day, she'll understand that this was my way of telling her that I wanted the best for her. I wanted her to thrive, even if I couldn't be there in the way I wanted. Perhaps in some distant future, when she looks back, she'll understand that the coldness she perceived in me was not a lack of love. It was simply my inability to express what was in my heart. But I also know this gesture won't repair the years of emotional distance between Rebecca and me. It won't change the way she feels about me. And that, perhaps, is the hardest truth to swallow. As I made those final decisions, I also began to prepare for what lay ahead. There was no denying it anymore. The illness was taking its toll, and I knew that my time was growing short. It was a strange feeling, knowing that you're nearing the end of your journey. There were so many things I still wanted to say, but I realized that the time to say them had passed. At least, the time for saying them in the way I imagined had passed. The only thing left to do was to accept my fate, to accept the choices I had made, and to prepare my affairs, both financial and personal, so that I could leave behind something that would stand after I was gone. I had always believed that knowledge was the legacy I would leave behind. It was my life's work, after all. But now, as I approached the end of my life, I realized that the true legacy I would leave would be what I had done for the people I loved. My relationship with Rebecca had been damaged beyond repair, I feared, and though my heart ached at the thought, I decided not to tell her about my illness. I knew that it would only complicate things. I didn't want to burden her with the knowledge that I was dying, especially when there was so much unresolved between us. Instead, I chose to focus on what I could leave behind, something tangible, something that might, in time, help to heal the wounds I could not. The trust fund for Sophia was my final act of love for her, but also a quiet hope for Rebecca. A hope that one day, when the pain of the past had subsided, she might come to understand that I had always done the best I could with what I had. The days passed slowly, each one melding into the next, and I found myself accepting the inevitable. My body, once strong and full of energy, was weakening, and with every passing moment, I felt the quiet certainty that I was nearing the end. But there was something strangely peaceful about that realization. Perhaps it was the weight of knowing that I had done what I could, even if it wasn't enough in the eyes of those I loved. I had spent so much of my life thinking I had to be perfect, that my accomplishments would be enough to make up for the emotional gaps I had left behind. But as I approached the end of my life, I saw the truth. No amount of academic success, no amount of teaching, no amount of intellectual achievement could fill the holes I had created in my relationships. I had always prided myself on being principled, on doing things the right way, but I never stopped to consider what the right way meant for those I loved. I always thought that my way was the best way, that my devotion to work and intellect was a form of love. But love, I realize now, isn't just about providing stability or ensuring financial security. Love is about showing up, being there, listening, understanding. And I wasn't there when Rebecca needed me the most. I wasn't there to comfort her when she was young, when she felt abandoned by my absence. And now, as I face the end of my life, I can't undo those years. I can't erase the emotional distance between us. I can't make up for all the lost time. But what I can do, what I've chosen to do, is to try to leave something meaningful behind for Sophia. I hope that one day, when she's old enough to understand, she'll know that I did this because I loved her, because I wanted her to have the opportunity one could never give her. An unspoken bond, a chance to have her own life, without the emotional burdens that had plagued mine. The quiet of my home is almost overwhelming now. The sounds of the world beyond my window feel distant and muffled, as though they belong to another time, a time when I was more engaged in life, more connected to those I loved. As I prepare for what's to come, I often find myself reflecting on the past. I think about Edward, my late husband, and how he was the emotional bridge between Rebecca and me, even when we didn't realize it. I think about how we once shared so much: hopes, dreams, plans for the future. But when he passed away, I was left to navigate this emotional terrain alone. Rebecca was left without the father she adored, and I was left without the partner who understood me better than anyone. After Edward's death, I found myself retreating further into my work, burying myself in the books and research I had always loved. But work never brought me the kind of companionship Edward had offered. It never filled the void left by his absence. And so, I withdrew even more from Rebecca, hoping that the stability I provided through my career would be enough for both of us. But in doing so, I lost the ability to be the mother she needed, and I see now how she must have felt. Alone, even in the presence of someone who loved her, someone who tried her best but could never fully reach her. Now, I wish I had been more open with her, more willing to show vulnerability. I wish I had told her from the start that I loved her more than anything, but I always thought that actions spoke louder than words. I thought that providing for her would make up for the emotional distance. I see now how wrong I was, how my silence became a wall between us, one that neither of us could tear down. There was a moment just a few weeks ago when I tried to reach out to Rebecca once more. I knew that time was not on my side, and though I had tried to repair our relationship in the past, I couldn't help but feel that now, at the end of my life, I had one last chance to fix things. Called her. My hands shook as I picked up the phone, knowing that this conversation would be different from the others. I had so many things I wanted to say, things I had kept hidden for years, hopes that she would understand, that she would forgive me. But when she answered, there was a coldness in her voice that I couldn't ignore. The years of hurt and misunderstanding were still there, just below the surface, and I could hear the anger in her words as she spoke. I tried to explain, to tell her that I never meant to hurt her, that I only wanted what was best for her. But all she heard was someone who had failed her, someone who had never been there when she needed me. And, in some ways, I suppose that's true. I was not there in the way she needed me to be. And no matter how much I wanted to explain, no matter how much I wished I could take back the years of emotional absence, the damage had already been done. The rift between us was too deep, too entrenched, to heal with a few words. In that conversation, I realized that I couldn't change the past. I couldn't undo the mistakes I had made. But I also realized something else. Perhaps the best I could do now, in my final days, was to let her go, to let her live her life without my presence weighing her down. So, instead of pushing for reconciliation, I made a difficult decision. I chose not to tell her about my illness. I knew that it would only complicate things, bring up old wounds that were best left untouched. And perhaps, in time, she would come to understand my choices. Perhaps one day we could find a way to heal, even if it wasn't in this lifetime. As the days continued to pass, I focused on making preparations, not just for my own passing but for the future I hoped to leave behind. I found peace in knowing that I could at least ensure Sophia would have a chance to create a future that might be different from the one I had lived. A future where emotional connections were more important than the intellectual achievements I had so prized. The trust fund I set up for her education was, in some ways, my last attempt at providing the things that I couldn't give her through love or presence. It was my way of showing her that despite the distance, Despite everything that had kept us apart, I cared for her and wanted her to succeed. Still, there was a part of me that couldn't help but wonder what would happen once I was gone. Would Rebecca ever come to understand that, despite everything, I had always loved her? That I had always wanted the best for her? I wasn't sure. And maybe, in the end, I would never know. But I had to accept that. I had to accept that I couldn't control everything, especially the way others felt or the way they would remember me. Perhaps, in the quiet of their hearts, they would come to realize that my silence had not been from a lack of love, but from an inability to express it. Perhaps, over time, they would forgive me. But that wasn't something I could wait for. It was something that had to happen on their own terms, in their own time. I have spent so much of my life trying to teach others, trying to help others see the world in new ways. But in the end, it was me who needed to learn the hardest lesson. That love is not just about intellect, about what we do for others. It's about presence, about being there, about showing our vulnerability. And in that lesson, I was too late. As the seasons continue to change outside my window, I find myself at peace with my choices, with the life I've led, even if it wasn't perfect. It's funny, how life doesn't always go as planned. We spend so much time chasing after things we think are important: status, career, achievements. And then, when we look back, we realize that what truly mattered was the time we spent with the people we loved, the connections we forged, and the moments of shared understanding. I spent so much of my life building walls around myself, protecting my heart from vulnerability. But in doing so, I pushed away the very people I most needed to hold close. Now, as I sit here in my study, surrounded by the legacy of my work, I realize that the true legacy I leave behind isn't in the books I've written or the students I've taught. It's in the quiet moments of love I didn't express, in the relationships I didn't nurture. It's in the hope that Sophia, one day, will understand the intent behind my actions, the love that motivated them, even if I couldn't always show it. I am filled with both regret and peace, knowing that I can't go back, but at least I can leave something behind for her. Something that will help her create the life I couldn't provide. As for Rebecca, I know that I may never fully heal the rift between us. There may always be a distance between us, but I have to accept that. I have to accept that there are some things in life that can't be fixed. The weight of that realization is heavy, but it's also freeing. I can't control the way she feels, and I can't change the past. All I can do now is hope that in time, she might come to understand that the love I gave was the only way I knew how to show it. I can't undo the years of silence, but I can find peace in knowing that I tried. I've spent so much of my life thinking about what I could have done differently, what I should have said, how I should have acted. The what-ifs have haunted me for years. What if I had been there for Rebecca when she needed me? What if I had softened my approach, allowed myself to show vulnerability and affection? What if I had taken the time to really understand what my family needed instead of being so consumed by my work? But now, at the end of my life, I know that there is no room for regret. Regret doesn't change the past. Regret doesn't mend broken relationships. It's a heavy weight to carry, but I know now that I have to let it go. The past is over. What matters now is what I leave behind, what I do in these last moments of my life. The truth is, I can't undo the distance I created, and perhaps I never will. I can't make Rebecca understand my actions or my intentions, but I can leave a legacy for Sophia. I can give her the chance to create a better life, to pursue her dreams, and to find her own way in the world. That's the best I can do now. The best I can offer is my hope for her future, even if it's all I can give. And perhaps in time, when she looks back, she'll understand that my love for her wasn't defined by proximity or closeness, but by my desire to provide her with the opportunities one couldn't provide my own daughter. I hope that, in some small way, this gesture will be a bridge between us, a symbol of the love I couldn't express but always felt. As I prepare for what lies ahead, I find myself accepting that the story I've lived, the choices I've made, are part of me now. There is no escaping the fact that I've left gaps in the lives of those I love. The silence between me and Rebecca will never be fully healed, but perhaps that's the nature of life. It's messy, it's imperfect, and it's filled with moments we wish we could change. But as I sit here, on the edge of my final chapter, I realize that there's still peace to be found in acceptance. I've done what I could in my own way. It's taken me a lifetime to understand that love isn't always about grand gestures or being the perfect mother or grandmother. Sometimes love is simply about trying, even when you're unsure how to express it. Sometimes it's about leaving something behind that can help those you love find their own way. And that's what I've done for Sophia. I hope that in time, she will come to understand that I may have been distant, but it wasn't because I didn't care. It was because I didn't know how to give her the kind of love she needed. But I hope that this trust fund, this gift for her future, will serve as a reminder of the love I couldn't always show. As for Rebecca, well, I've come to terms with the fact that some things in life can't be fixed. The rift between us may never heal, and that's something I have to accept. But I also believe that time has a way of healing wounds, even if we don't always see it happening. Perhaps one day when I'm gone, she will remember the moments when I tried, even if those moments were few and far between. Perhaps one day she will understand that the love I gave was the best I knew how to give. And now, as I sit quietly, knowing my time is coming to an end, I find solace in one final thought, that despite everything I have tried my best. It hasn't always been enough, and I won't pretend that it has been. But I can say with all honesty that I have given everything I had to give in the ways that I knew how. The emotional distance between me and Rebecca is painful, and the gap with Sophia is something I regret deeply. But the truth is, these were the limitations of my life, of my own understanding of love and connection. And now, all I can do is hope for reconciliation, even if it's beyond my reach in this lifetime. I have come to accept that my legacy will not be measured by the number of students I taught, or the intellectual contributions I made. Instead, it will be measured by the small acts of love that I couldn't fully express but tried to show through my actions. My gift to Sophia is my way of telling her that, despite the distance, despite the mistakes, I care for her deeply and want her to have a future I couldn't create for her. And for Rebecca, I hope that one day, she will understand that all I ever wanted was for her to feel loved, even if I didn't always know how to show it. As I prepare to leave this world, I find peace in knowing that I am not defined by my failures. I am defined by my efforts, my intentions, and the hope that, even though things were never perfect, I tried to leave something meaningful behind. And so, with a quiet heart, I say goodbye, not just to this world, but to the chance of seeing the healing I hoped for in my family. Perhaps, in time, they will understand. Perhaps, in time, love will bridge the gaps that I could not.
Thank you for listening to Eleanor's story. If this tale of love, regret, and the complexities of family has touched you, please remember to hit that subscribe button. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear that sometimes it's never too late to make a difference in someone's life. I hope you'll join me next time for another story filled with lessons of life and love. Take care, and remember, you're never alone in the struggles you face.